Hello, I'm Jack Rickard. This is Electric Vehicle Television, and I'm here with my compadre and consigliere, El Braino Noto. Brain, the vote's in.
The vote's in?
Yeah, it's like 27,000 like long and boring, 26,992 don't like long and boring.
Don't like long and boring, huh?
It's like the coming election.
It's just
too
how it's going to be.
close to call.
Too close to call, that's right.
And where does that leave us?
Long and boring.
It leaves us to do it however we want.
That's right. Since they don't know. And we're big this week. We must be big stars.
Yeah, we're.
Look at us. We've grown. We've enlarged.
Yes, we're enlarged. What sort of electric vehicle news and gossip have you gleaned from the intosphere?
From the internetwork sphere out there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's see. We did want to talk a little bit about ZEV credits this week, and that's the California.
I love ZEV credits. I've been trying to get some of those.
We've been trying to get ZEV credit. A lot of people have.
It's like Bitcoin, right?
Yeah, that's right. It almost is. It really almost is like Bitcoin. So California is the lead state with all the ZEV stuff, and in fact, have been doing this for a long time and killed the electric vehicle once before.
I heard there's restaurants out there where you can get a sandwich for a ZEV
for an old ZEV credit.
But it's just in California.
Yeah, you got to use them before they expire.
Pita Pocket, 1 ZEV credit.
That's right. That's right, a wrap.
A wrap.
You can get a stuff.
With alfalfa sprouts.
With alfalfa sprouts, exactly. Mung bean sprouts are they're all the rage.
So how does this work?
Well, what they do, so they give you credits for producing zero-emission vehicles, also transitional zero-emission vehicles, which means they make...
Those are vehicles that sometimes have zero emissions?
Sometimes have zero emissions,
and
yes.
some have little poot-poot emissions.
Some little poot-poot emissions, exactly.
Those would be like hybrids?
They'd be like hybrids, and also those like a really ultra-high mileage gasoline engine. Maybe they got 60 miles to the gallon, or a diesel or something like that.
It would get a zero emission credit?
It would get, right now they do actually, and they won't after the 2018 model year.
I'm with Jeff Foxworthy. This stuff just gets so crazy.
It's crazy.
Where in America can you be arrested for hunting out of season, but you can't for being an illegal alien?
That's right, being an illegal alien, exactly.
Come into the country illegally and they won't arrest you, but if you're one day early on deer season, you just check it out.
That's right. I don't care if you have scent blocker camouflage on or not, man. They'll find you.
They'll find you.
So it's kind of interesting. The top two ZEV credits that were transferred with this year just ending September 30th was Nissan, number one with 663.6 ZEV credits. But Tesla transferred 650.195 ZEV credits.
Now that's like thousands ZEV credits, right?
Yeah. They get
Well, they have different
4 or 7
denominations.
Yeah, they have different.
For making change at the sandwich shop.
They do. Yeah, you can't just have one. Yeah. They can't just have one denomination.
What kind of money are we talking about when they give these up?
There is no value, and they don't disclose what they sell them for. Now, we do know last year, the Tesla said, I believe in its reporting in 2013 year, that they had sold $128 million worth of ZEV credits. So they're kind of
like Bitcoin?
Kind of like
daily value?
They really are, yeah. You can kind of sell them to whoever and whatever you want. It was interesting that Mercedes-Benz had to buy 663.6 ZEV credits this year.
You know what we ought to do? Is start accepting ZEV credits in our online store.
There you go. Okay, yeah. ZEV credits.
Yeah, ZEV credits and of course Bitcoin.
Yeah, exactly.
If we're going to be into alternate fuel, we should be into alternate coin.
Exactly, alternate coinage. And alternate realms, I suppose.
Right.
Well, we already are. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll be talking a little bit about ZEV credits.
We'll get back to ZEV credits, but just interesting, Nissan sold more than Tesla did.
Yes. Yeah. And I'll just work another thing in here. Also, Nissan and Tesla, just so we're talking about them, just a little kind of fun fact. When Nissan introduced the Leaf, it took them 2 years and 2 months to sell their 50,000th vehicle. Tesla, it looks like, if they haven't already today, because they haven't reported it, by the end of this month, they will have sold their 50,000th vehicle in 2 years and 3 months after their June of 2012 introduction. And that's a car that's, what, $100,000 versus a $40,000 car? I mean, it's a interesting...
And I said this from the beginning, that the people that would be the low-hanging fruit or early adopters in the EV market would want the cool car, and the price didn't really matter.
It really didn't matter, yeah.
Immediately, Nissan goes out and takes their bottom of the line, the Versa, and converts it to an electric car. Chevrolet does the same thing with the Cruze. Recall last week we talked about the mileage ratings
Yes.
on these. I went into some further detail on the blog this week. Most of those cars do no better than we do
No,
as
they
far
don't.
as efficiency.
No,
In fact, some of them weren't up to our standards.
no, that's true.
And the perception is that you guys in your garages are making junk and the OEMs are making the good cars. I don't think so. Two things jump out. One is our batteries.
Yes.
We saw from the Renault that they had a third of their weight in junk.
In just garbage, yeah, to support the battery pack, yeah.
Yeah. And our batteries, instead of using the soft, vulnerable pouch cells, we have little armored Lego blocks that the structure is in the battery itself,
Yes.
which they think is a dumb way to do it.
Right, a dumb way to do it. All
But
that
it
weight.
lets us very granularly put them around in the car flexibly, and all we do is a very lightweight aluminum box, and now maybe a heater,
Yeah.
but not this big agglomeration of stuff
No.
to carry the batteries. And I think that's where, they're using better density batteries than we are, and then giving it back with a package.
With a bunch of junk, yeah.
The other thing that jumped out was most of those cars are conversions.
Yes. They were except
Which is
for
what-
two of them.
which is what we do.
Which is what
You-
we've been doing.
You have the Tesla and the BMW.
Yes.
As your two.
Those are it.
Those are scratch-built electric cars.
Yes.
By the way, the Tesla had the highest ratio at 12.22,
Yes.
and the BMW had the best energy rating at 270 watt-hours per mile.
It did.
The Smart's a conversion,
Yes, yes. Smart's
an
conversion.
obvious one.
Yes.
The Leaf is a Versa converted.
Right.
Comes off the same assembly line.
Sure.
The Volt is a Cruze.
Cruise, yes.
What else did we have? I guess the Ford Focus.
Ford
is
Focus.
Well, no, that's a
That's
gasoline
a conversion,
car. The
absolutely.
Spark is
The
a
Spark.
gasoline car.
Yes.
The Fiat is a gasoline car that they have simply made an electric version of. So we're still at the garage stage, but so are they.
Yes, exactly.
They're doing exactly the same. The Tesla originally was a converted Lotus.
Yes.
They now have a scratch-built car, and it's much better.
Yes.
And I think that we've got a great future because every design decision ever made by about a car gets to be revisited now,
Yes.
down to what the hubcaps are made of,
Yes.
what their shape is, how big tires should be. All of that is, part of it. So we're going to go through a whole thing of redesigning the car for
Yeah.
electric drive.
Yes.
And I think that's cool.
Yeah, that is. I mean, the other thing too, we were talking about the Focus and things. Ford has dropped the price again of
Yes.
the Focus, so they're down to
Nissan started in the high 30s. They're down to 29,000.
Yes.
Now, they bringing the Ford in at?
they're bringing the Ford in line at $29,995. So they just took
That's
another
this week. They lopped off
another
$6,000.
$6,000 off of it. Yeah, that's $10,000 since they introduced it.
And that's what they're having to do to sell these cars. Again, it's an early adopter market. It still is.
Yes.
And even we're getting into the oddity of Tesla having gotten through kind of the low-hanging fruit
Yes.
for their car. We're celebrating 50,000 cars, and they have done some remarkable things and done them very well. But at some point, the number of people willing to pay $107,000
Right.
for a Model S, And now, ironically, they're raising the price.
Yes, raising the price.
Essentially introducing the Model D, and which will really be $125,000, $130,000 car.
Yeah, by the time you're done with the extra motor and the.
And that strikes me as kind of strange.
It is, yeah.
But I think that's going to dwindle the numbers, of people available to do that a little further.
I think so, yeah.
That's a great car, but we are in the early adoption phase, and it's not really been demonstrated. No one's achieved economies of scale in any significant sense.
No.
We start to broaden the base of people that buy the product past the early adoption stage by lowering the price as you manufacture in larger quantities. They are lowering the price of the Leaf, the Volt, and the Ford Focus.
Yes.
But Tesla's kind of going the other way. So it's still, we're still early in the game.
It's still early, yeah.
What's...
Well, we talked last week just real briefly about the Michigan had wanted to pass a bill that would, any manufacturer may not sell any new motor vehicle directly to a retail customer other than through franchise dealers, and no manufacturer may own a vehicle service or repair facility except to work on their own cars. Well, Governor Rick Snyder signed that into law on Tuesday, so Michigan has, I guess you can't, Tesla can't have their stores, I guess, anymore, maybe? And
worse, they can't have a repair
facility.
The governor insists that this has all been misconstrued by Tesla for their advantage.
Yes.
And that this was simply a tightening up of an existing law applying to the franchise dealers, and they were going to deal with direct sales in a separate bill later.
Ah, okay.
Well, we'll see.
We'll see, exactly. So they just had a couple of commas in the wrong place, you're telling me? Maybe
well,
its were wrong?
Yeah, but they do tend to decry Tesla. I don't know what to think about this anymore. I have gotten online and done some research in simply ordering parts from dealers.
Yes.
And
oh, man.
It's interesting in milieu. However, what I find is they do compete, and you typically can buy parts for 15 or 20% off MSRP, the manufacturer's suggested retail price. Without dealers, and with Tesla being the only source, you're going to get them at MSRP.
Right.
And they are simply going to refuse to sell them to you.
Yes.
I thought that Ford and General Motors and some of these others were into this controlling who they sold to as well with the VIN number.
Oh, yeah.
You have to have a VIN number to order a part.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty evil. Never attribute to malfeasance what can be covered by incompetence. Would you believe none of them care if you ever bought the car?
Okay, all right.
They don't care at all. I've talked to several of them. They could give a shit. Yeah, less. I found a cable assembly that I need.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And it is on the 2011 Chevy Volt.
Okay.
Would you believe that the 2006 Impala has a completely different cable assembly?
I could imagine.
In a completely different part of the car with a different number of wires, and it's a different color and has a different connector on both ends.
Okay. Yeah, I can believe that.
So why do I bring it up? It shares one thing in common with the Chevy Volt cable assembly.
What's that?
Has the same part number.
Oh, no.
They are both GM and the same part number.
Oh, no.
These clowns are reusing their part numbers on different parts in their system.
And we found that in the Mini Cooper when they didn't change the transmission.
Yes.
And I'd never heard of that before.
Uh-huh. Well, to have a part number today the part number is only the suffix.
Right. The VIN is
The VIN is the prefix.
Prefix,
It's
yeah.
a two-part part number.
Jeez.
Your VIN and the part number. And without the VIN, they don't know which part to send you.
They don't know.
They've got 3, 4, 5 on the same part number.
Right. And if they're special order, you get to keep them all.
One guy laughed at me. He says, "We don't care if you even have a car."
As long as you got a
But
credit
what
card.
happens is people order it by part number. We send them the part, and they send it back and tell us it's the wrong part.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
we have to
wow.
restock it, and we go through all this thing. He said they have part of a part number. Without the VIN number, we don't know what the part number is, even if you give us the part number.
My God.
So when ordering parts from any of these guys, you have to give them your vehicle identification number, and they're not tracking whether you bought a car or a legitimate purchaser of the part. That's half the part number.
Jeez. Who would have thunk it?
It's news to me.
Yeah.
I mean, you learn something every day.
Yeah.
But who would have thought that they would have two entirely different cable assemblies? They go on two entirely different cars with exactly the same part number marked on it.
Wouldn't make any sense at all.
GM XXXXXX.
Wow.
Well, I guess there's only a certain amount of IP address space, and there's only a certain number of part number address
Part
space.
number allocations.
And if you sell cars for 100 years, you run out of part numbers.
Part numbers. Unless you need a VIN too. Oh man.
So that I
Crazy.
thought I'd throw that in, a little something I learned this week. Oh well.
Yeah, interesting.
Uh-huh.
Have your VIN ready. Let's see what else happened this week. Daimler, our friends at Daimler, they sold their remaining 4% stake in Tesla that was valued at about $780 million.
By golly, I wish I'd have bought that much.
Isn't that amazing? And I think they had,
They did pretty well on it, huh?
yeah, it sounds like it. They had 9.1% since 2009, had sold off to 5% earlier. Daimler did say that they would continue to cooperate with Tesla, and they do plan to source their powertrains for the B class, because that's where that's all coming from, is from Tesla.
Well, so just
Take the money and
take it off the table.
take the money and run, and they're good.
I've heard rumors that Toyota's going to do the same. I've heard rumors that BMW bought it from Daimler.
It's been crazy this week.
It's it's sort of a strange bedfellows type thing. I will reiterate my thing that I think Apple computers should still buy Tesla, even in today's
Even in today's
valuations.
price, yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah, makes a lot of
and
sense.
then it would work with your watch.
Exactly,
iWatch.
your iWatch. Yeah, that's what we heard. That Reuters may have confirmed that Toyota did sell their stake, but I guess they're going to do fuel cell cars anyway. They're going to do
Yeah, they don't believe in electric
They're not
cars.
going to do any electric vehicles. Yeah, they.
Fuel cells.
Yeah, that's it. And we'll see. BMW could be an interesting relationship with BMW's carbon fiber plastic technology and Tesla's powertrain and battery stuff. And like we said, the only two cars that are actually built from the ground up. Could be an interesting relationship. But that's just a rumor.
Anything else, or is that news and gossip?
Well, last week there was some things out there in the blogosphere that the California Air Resources Board was meeting this week. They met on the 23rd and actually today on the 24th as well. And that they were going to kill the electric car again. Well, what it ends up that they were doing was they were just merely, this has been going on for about a year. There are manufacturers that are large manufacturers like GM, Toyota, Nissan, Ford, Chrysler, et cetera. And then there are some intermediate manufacturers like Jaguar and Volvo and people like that. And there was just, what they were doing was working on was a way to transition these small manufacturers, these intermediate volume makers, to eventually they're going to become large volume makers. And the rules were just a little bit too tough, is really what it seemed like. That they didn't have enough time with their R&D. I mean, imagine Volvo has 4 or 5 cars out in the market, and that in 3 years they've got to bring an electric vehicle. to market after 2018. That's a lot, I would say, for a manufacturer like that.
So this cardboard is, they do these cafe standards. This has grown into something bizarre in that now there is a cabal of states.
Yes.
And what do they call those? Part 177?
They're the Section 177 states, yeah, and they're...
That have signed on to also...
to
whether California goeth, so goeth I.
Yeah, they are going exactly the same as California, and that would include, oh God, Oregon, and then a bunch of Northeast states, Connecticut, Maryland, I think New York,
Vermont,
Maine, Vermont, yeah.
So what this is it's illegal to sell a car in these states if you're a manufacturer that is not in compliance with these CAFE standards. And part of the CAFE standard is a zero emissions component.
Yeah, they do have a federal zero emissions component as well.
And then you have these ZEV credits, which you can
trade them with your friends
in place of cars.
That's right. Yes.
And so we talk about compliance cars. These are cars sold only in California, usually below their cost to produce them.
Yes.
So they can qualify to sell their other cars there. It sounds draconian, but it's having kind of an interesting effect.
It is.
But now it's a little more complicated in that you really can't sell your car in any of these states if you don't meet California.
If you don't meet
and
your
it's
ZEV
6 or
credits.
8 states now. It's quite a bit of a car market.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And so you kind of have to comply. Then part of the issue they were addressing at this meeting, as I understand it, was they weren't allowing them to count the sale of these cars that were in the 177 states to qualify under the CAFE standards to sell cars in California,
in California
and the 177 states.
Right.
And so,
there's a big.
Some of it was about that.
Some of it was about that's called pooling and transfer, and they were one of the things that they were talking about that could lower the numbers of zero emission cars in some of the states is that some of the manufacturers are building up a lot of credits. And that would offset in future years their need to build as many zero emission vehicles. So that is one. The other part of this was fast charging. They had last year in 2013's meeting, they had battery swapping they had taken off the table as fast charging. You get more zero emission vehicle credits if your car goes 100 miles plus, 200 miles plus and fast charges, or 300 miles plus and fast charges. That's fast charge in 15 minutes. That, at this point in time, looks like battery swapping. So they had taken off the table because no one had really demonstrated. Tesla had demonstrated it, but they hadn't done it. So now Tesla is going to build, out in California, they're saying, prior to December, the battery swapping stations, some number of battery swapping stations, because the ZEV credits are higher, much higher, about 3 credits per vehicle higher, if you can either fast charge in 15 minutes or battery swap.
So they'll basically get credit for this for all their cars.
Yes.
If they have this one battery swap station in operation.
Well, yeah. I mean, they can't. Yes, the cars do have to go. I think they only get a year to do it. Yeah, it's interesting.
It gets into some interesting games
Yeah.
that both the state and the car makers play.
Yeah.
But I still don't think, and after having sold 70 Renault fast charge packs,
That's right.
I still don't get it.
They're kind of nonplussed. Yeah.
I thought it was a cool demonstration Tesla did of a
Yeah.
90-second battery swap, but I'm like, the one thing about it is if they did do that, and I wouldn't go for it. We're down here where we don't even have a fast charger.
We can't even get a supercharger station here. Yeah.
But let's say you bought a Tesla and bought into a program where you paid a reasonable charge, so to speak.
Yeah, that's right. No pun
200
intended.
bucks a month, say, or 150 a month, and you were allowed unlimited battery swapping, and there were enough places to
Just
swap.
where you could go, yeah.
It isn't really about the fast charge. It's about you don't have a battery anymore.
Right. You're basically
Tesla has a battery.
Tesla has a battery, yeah.
And they can upgrade that battery anytime. Mm-hmm. And they can replace bad ones.
They can maintain
anytime.
it for you, yeah, upgrade it. Yeah.
They can do. You don't own a battery. You just own the car and sign up for this program. And batteries are their problem. Mm-hmm. And
Not a bad idea.
it's really not a bad idea in
Yeah.
a way, in that the obsolescence of the batteries is not a problem.
Not a problem anymore, yeah. Yeah. Wouldn't affect resale value. It would be,
If they figure out a way to put 120 kilowatt hours in the same space as the 85 kilowatt pack,
man.
now they would probably upsell you.
Sure. Do you
on your
want to be
monthly
part of that
rate,
deal?
but,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's okay. If you give an option.
Sure. So that's an interesting area that could go, but I don't think any of it's actually viable.
I think they've got to demonstrate it and yeah, again, to comply and to do things. Because right now, 15-minute charge, they can't do either.
Mm-hmm.
And they want those credits, I'm sure.
It's just not a good idea to have the government designing cars, and that's what
No.
you're doing here.
Yeah, yeah.
And it leads to the allocation of huge amounts of resource for nonsense.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's
it's a
where
lot.
you're going with
Yeah.
that.
And that's it from my end over here.
Well, let's move the show along because although we are long and boring, we
the
want to keep it moving. Let's do just a quick update on some bling, just some little gewgaws.
Okay.
We have strapped onto the green thing that I think are kind of cool.
All right.
A real quick update on the green thing because we're doing a lot of fun stuff that's sort of bling. And so I wanted to talk to you about it. Jess, what do we got going here? You've been a busy fella.
Been busy. Well, we got some of our nice LED truck lights that we've been installing in our cars. And then, of course, we've got this magnificent stuff.
Let's talk about the lights.
Okay.
These are egregiously expensive, and we always use them now.
Yeah.
Because they've gotten a lot better. These are the truck light LED lights, and they dramatically cut our power usage to get light, and they put out good light now, which they were not that good before, but they're getting better, and I really like them, which is fortunate because they're very, very proud of them.
Yeah, they
I
are.
think it's about $700 a set in the store, and that's real close to what I'm paying for them. So these are kind of proud, but I think they actually dress up the look, and they dramatically cut down the power. What else have you done?
Well, as you can see, some things have changed on the front of the green thing.
This is my pet project, and you have done so well at it, I may keep you for a while. I don't know quite why they come to work here, and I don't know quite how they leave, but we need to talk about you just staying for a bit. This, as I have announced, and Damian McGuire has just about left Tinkle Trail over this. He's already ordered some stuff and is going to start without me.
Oh, yeah.
He has a CHAdeMO station 3 miles from his house and 51 of them in Ireland now with a bunch of big BMWs that he drives. And he wants a CHAdeMO on his cars pretty badly. I don't really need it, but the task has captured my imagination because I think I can do it pretty easily now. The problem is these are big, ugly plugs.
They kind of are.
And we had a big VW insignia right on the front. And now I can open the door, and here is my CHAdeMO. Jesse has, and this actually had a raised circular part that the VW was on, so this was non-trivial. He made a shim, I'd say 3/8 of an inch thick, that's actually got the shoulder for that round part underneath there. Put that between there and the Yazaki inlet and bolted it all down into a very secure sandwich. This was some scrap 6061, and he took it with one of our buffers, I think, and buffed this thing out where it shines like a new dime. And the net result is absolutely a piece of jewelry. He put the VW insignia then on the cap of the Yazaki. As luck would have it, it's a perfect fit.
It is.
And so it looks kind of like a complicated VW insignia, but when you hit the switch, it opens up. Better, our battery box is going to be in here, and he's going to build me a box with the 2 contactors in it to go to the battery pack, and a yellow Tyco high volt relay. Actually, we don't need that, a regular automotive relay. We're just switching the 12 volt for the contactors.
Correct.
And so we don't need the high voltage relay. He's going to build me a box, but it goes in right behind here. And so the little 1-AUG cables that come with the Yazaki to handle 125 amps are going to go about 1 foot into this box. And we're going to use 1-AUG. And why would that be? I think the future CHAdeMO goes right to 200 amps. And they tell me that the connector will take it now. I'm not sure about those little 1-AUG cables, but the 1-aughts will. And so we're only going to have about 1 foot or 1.5 foot of the orange cable that comes with this into those contactors, and they will go to the battery pack using some 1-AUG shielded cable. There's also a bunch of control wires. We will also have our JLD 505 in that box, and it will be in near proximity to our battery box, which has the shunt inside of it for reading current. We'll use a JLD 404 in the driver's dashboard to actually get a physical reading of that. And then the JLD 505 will control that and make all the current and voltage information available to our JevQ displays and so forth. So I'm just delighted with what I think is one of the sexiest installations of a CHAdeMO inlet that I've ever seen on a vehicle. A job well done, Mr. Hale.
Well, thank you very much.
But wait, there's more. What else you got?
Well, we finally got Jeff's, the heater that Jeff built us, and voila, I've installed it.
Recall, if you will, Mr. Southern of Kennesaw, Georgia, and went to some links, actually. He's got 15 or 20 hours in this thing.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was quite that much of a build till he sent me the video, which I showed you part of. Not the long, ugly part where he's working for days on this thing. And he actually created us a heater, and I never did quite understand what he was doing until we got it, and Jesse put it in. It sucks air up out of under the dash and blows it through the heater and immediately right down under the dash, and the entire travel circuit isn't 18 or 20 inches. This fan is kind of weeny, but it would work for 18 or 20 inches. It's not real good for 6 foot of tube. But I think this will work real well, and Jess has already got it installed here in the vehicle. I had him leave the lid off so you could see. I'm not sure what you can see. It's just a PTC heater and a hole. And it's securely mounted here and blows down into the driver's passenger compartment. We'll put the lid on so that it makes the little U-journey. And Mr. Southern provided us with an insulating blanket, which we will gaudily tape over the top of it to keep from losing heat, because it's being the end of October. In about 3 more weeks, I'm not going to care what it looks like under the hood, but I am going to care what it feels like under the dash.
On the inside.
And so there we go. And so away we go. Just some little gewgaws that we're adding to the thing. We're gradually getting there with our bottom balancing of the pack. Our motor and controller are installed. Our charger is installed. And this car is getting closer all the time. Stay with us. There's more Underdog Adventures.
Man, that green thing's pretty cool. That's a nice build. I like that.
You wind up in this one-off world.
Yeah,
Jeff Southern and I each have a cool heater.
I know.
I would love to offer you all one, but it takes him 15 or 20 hours to make one.
Yeah, it would be $5,000.
Yeah, it would be a $7,500 heater that's at about 1,500 watts.
But hey, you can build your own.
What do you do with that?
Yeah, exactly.
It's probably beyond most people to build that, but I wanted you to see how it was done. Of course, the big reason we went there was the CHAdeMO connector.
That's a pretty look. I like
My
that.
VW logo now flips out, and I can plug in.
It's pretty cool. And it fit.
This is still a crazy mission. We don't
have any.
charge stations within 100 miles.
No.
But a lot of you all do, so I'm going to work this one for you. By the end of the year, you're going to be able to buy all the pieces you need at a pretty reasonable price to do this.
To do CHAdeMO.
I'm even working on, got a kid named Joel. You recall I showed you this 6 months ago. This is a J1772 holster. It's just a piece of plastic. You can't use it to charge anything. But your J1772 thing will plug in it. On my gas station chargers out
on
there,
our pumps.
I had to actually use up a $100 inlet.
Take one apart. Yeah, back in the day.
So that I would have a holster to plug the connector into.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's sort of hanging limply, or my Clipper Creek charger, it just kind of hangs there. This lets you put this on the wall and plug it in and keeps moisture and spiders and stuff out of the plug. And this is just a thing that you can put wine cable.
You could drape your cable over that, sure.
If you're making your own thing, or like we carry Valerie's juice box.
Yeah, the juice box.
And that's pretty cool, but this would work perfectly with it, so you can just plug in the thing. So we're going to carry these in the store for $25. He did them on a 3D printer, but he doesn't do that anymore. This is injection molded and in all ways a good manufactured piece. It's sturdy, it's inexpensive, and it lets you hang up your thing. I'm talking with him about CHAdeMO connectors. Or the weekend of CHAdeMO is these connectors are. We're charging $895 for the Miyazaki.
Yeah.
And I'm not giving them away at that. We do make money on them, but precious little in that case. And they're a big chunk. And so Joel's going to take a crack at that.
Okay, all right.
And see if he can
do it.
Make me a CHAdeMO, at least the inlets. I don't know. We need to
About
get into the
plug.
plugs.
Yeah. Well, the plug should already be there on the charge stations.
Well, it should be, but if you wanted to make your own charge station, we're probably going to do some of that.
You're going to have to do it. Right, you're right.
And so that's the issue. And that plug, which we had here last week, we've got it in the store for $3,600. Now that's 20 feet of
20 feet
125
of
amp cable.
Yeah.
But it's still, frankly, I was 30 years old before I ever drove a car that cost that much. So,
well, and the CHAdeMO, like we last week talked about, there's just a lot of them out there. I I was looking here in the Oregon and Washington. I mean, there's 50 some of them on the 5 freeway up there and on the Highway 1 of CHAdeMO.
A couple of people have noticed that we have never really updated them on the outcome of our solar system.
Oh, okay.
And what it was doing and why it was doing that, and did we was that a failure? Is that why we didn't talk about it anymore?
Oh, we don't talk about failures too.
You know, it's
Even
probably more likely we would have talked about it had it been a big failure. I got to say that it's worked turnkey and essentially without incident, basically. And so it hadn't been news.
No, it just kind of did it, and that was it. Yeah.
But an update may be in order. Let's take a look. We'll tell you what's going on with it.
Okay.
Okay, I've had several people ask for further news of our solar installation that we had installed over the past year and went active on July 9th. And I guess we haven't said a whole lot about it. Here it is, an aerial view. We have 80 panels of 305 watts for just under 25 kilowatts DC solar power installation. The things worked relatively flawlessly. And the interesting thing about photovoltaic panels is if you watch them work, as you can see, they're not doing very much. Actually, they're doing a lot. They're making electricity for us. But to see how they're doing, we're going to have to take a look at the website and some actual measurements. Let's see what we got. I did talk about taking a look at our solar installation. This is the SolarEdge.com website. We have a SolarEdge installation of just under 25 kilowatts. This is the dashboard view here. Let me zoom in a little bit. Let's see here. There we go. This is shows July 2014. This is when we first started up the system. Here's our site summary. We have 25 kilowatts. Right now it's 46.4 degrees Fahrenheit. Humidity is 88.5%. Sunrise at 7:12. Sunset at 18:11. Here's our temperatures. So we get a little weather report. Here is a photograph of our site, and this is our 305 watt solar panels. I would call your attention to this wall along the east side of the installation, and there they are, about a 14-degree tilt. This is our power and energy for the month of July, and here's where we fired it up at 48.871 kilowatt hours on July 9th. Here's a cloudy day at 95. Probably our peak day was 157.757 kilowatt hours on July 15th. Now, considering that we have somewhat under 25 kilowatt DC array, that implies over 6 hours at full power. So that was a pretty good day, and I have to say that the efficiency of these systems is much, much different than the ones I put in 1998, where you rarely got even close to the 15 kilowatts rated that I had then at all. This is actually pretty marvelous. Here's another day at 153 kilowatt hours. I can go to August and show you a full month. The website is pretty slow. It often takes it a while to refresh. And I find that they put this up for you. Our individual inverters report my wireless through our wireless access point at EvTV to this server that's run by Solar Edge. But you can see they have branded my page with Ozark Solar, the installer. And so we're seeing a lot of this with solar panel equipment people trying to work more hand in hand with the installers. The extreme case of that would be US Solar. You can't even buy their panels without going through an installer. And that's to keep the commoditization of solar panels, which brings down the price. It's kind of trying to work a sweetheart deal to get more money out of you, basically, by working with the installers. But Solar Edge stuff is pretty much available. I'm having a little trouble going to the next month here, August. Apply. See, August we did more total energy, 3,453 megawatts. In the summer, with the air conditioner running, we probably do, here's August, about 3,800 to 4,000 kilowatt hours, largely because of the air conditioning. Here you can see August, we did pretty well here. You can tell it rained on the 7th of August, but here we had 149, probably the peak. That's less than the 153 peak that we had in July, but as you can see, all days are accounted for. Let's go to September. And as we go, the sun, of course, moves further to the south. And but here we have some peak days, 141. And again, you can tell the days of bad weather and how much energy you produced each day by day. Here's October, which you'll find kind of interesting. If I can get it to come up. We made no electricity at all on the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th of October. Our solar system went on vacation. Fortunately, the next week we also had a lot of rain and cloudy weather. But we're back to doing some pretty good energy here. What happened on the 2nd through the 6th? Again, solar is going to wind up being essentially a battle with the grid companies and utility companies. They require, and have gotten it enacted as law, that they have an external shutoff of the solar system, purportedly for safety considerations. Now, since all the anti-islanding and the inability of our inverters to even make electricity without the grid, this is specious. But in the case of fire or something, they want to be able to shut it off. So we have to have a shutoff on the outside of the building. And that means that any little kid walking down the street can pull the handle and shut us off. They apparently did so, I would say, probably sometime on the 1st in the afternoon or early on the 2nd, but more likely toward the end of the day on the 1st. And we discovered it on the 7th, late in the day. This wasn't that rainy. It was probably 5 p.m. when Jesse came in to notify me that the photovoltaic array was down and that the handle had been pulled. And so that's what we're getting there. I called your attention to the wall here. They also have a layout display that actually shows, and this takes some time to come up. Right now it's 9:44 a.m. And here are my panels, and they actually have on them what they're putting out at the moment. 123 watt hours here, 104.5 on this panel, and I can actually look at any panel and see what it's putting out. But note along the right side that we have these dark panels with very low numbers. This one's 16.25 watt hours, where this one's 99 and this one's 106. And over here we have 118. That's because these panels are actually shadowed by that wall in the early morning. And again, it's 9:44 right now in the morning, and you can see the effect on the array. So I think this display that SolarEdge has, which works very slowly, is actually quite good. It's just frustrating in its amount of stuff. But I actually, on my display in 1998, had a PC set up dedicated with sensors to measure the photovoltaic system in the basement, so I could do this. Now it's simply done over the internet and is on a server at their site. And my main responsibility is to remember my password, which, of course, like many of the online services now, they're requiring a number and a capital letter and so on and so forth. So you can't use your password. You have to make up another one. And so in any event, that's the update on our solar, and it's working out very well for us. We're approaching our break even, as I say, through the summer because of the air conditioning. We are not able to make quite enough power to cover our usage, but actually by this month we've kind of got the air conditioning off, and our actual usage in the shop will drop dramatically. But our photovoltaic output will drop very modestly. In fact, you get kind of a strange thing. You have less sun, but the panels operate somewhat more efficiently, cooler than they do when they're hot. And so you get a little bit of a mix. I would say September, October, and November perhaps will be doing quite well on our utility bill because of this. They have some little cheesy things down here. So far we've saved 15,885 pounds of CO2 emissions. Somehow we planted 407.9 trees, and we powered apparently 31,693 light bulbs for a day. All that being somewhat theoretical. I bet we didn't really turn on all those light bulbs. And so that's our view of our solar power performance. I'm very pleased with the installation, and that was a particular thing. We did receive our check of $2 per DC kilowatt hour, about $48,000. Our total cost of installation was about $63,000, and so we're probably out of pocket $15,000 for a 25 kilowatt photovoltaic array on the building, which will probably meet our energy needs most months of the year, although June, July, and August are desired to be cool in the office and hide in the office somewhat outweighs our energy efficiency aspirations, and so I would look for that to continue. But it's been a good deal for us. It was a marvelous program in the state of Missouri. It still exists. They're down to $1.50 rebate, but you get it within about 30 days of firing up the system. And I was kind of suspicious of this all the way along. It was not without its bureaucracy, but it did go through, and we did get the payment. And so we're net out $15,000 on the thing that probably saves us $600 or $700 per month. Their lifetime revenue so far they're counting is $1,150. Not exactly accurate. And here's kind of a hidden thing about solar. Our actual rate in the summer is a little over 10 cents a kilowatt hour. But there are taxes that are piled onto that from the city, the state, and everybody else that bring it up about 12 cents a kilowatt hour. And so the net effect is if you don't use a kilowatt hour, you also don't pay taxes on it. So our true savings are more like 12 cents a kilowatt hour. Again, nationally, that's a fairly nice rate. The national average for electricity without the taxes is about 11.75 cents per kilowatt hour. We're down around 10 in the summer, and then it drops to about 8. Actually, this month, I think, October. So we have different rates in the winter and the summer. They kind of tag us for the air conditioning in the summer. So that's an overview of what's actually happening with our power usage since the installation on July 9th, and it's worked out very well. I guess I think that without the rebates, the economics for solar are similar to the economics for EVs. Not very good, but they're getting better, and they're getting better at almost a monthly pace. And it's a little bit of a statement, a commitment to living that way. We're probably going to install more solar in the future, more for charging cars, and it probably won't be grid tied. We'll have it in the building for some specific applications that we do with fast charging and so forth. So. But this has worked out as a grid-tied system very well. They're really not very friendly to, they don't want you to have power when the grid goes down for some reason. And so it's somewhat difficult with this system to have any kind of emergency backup of power. So we'll probably be working on something along those lines with a separate electrical system to some degree that's not tied into the grid at all here at EvTV in the future. Stay with us. So that's our solar adventure, and but I've got some further news. We have managed to talk somebody into something. These are quite fragile. This is the individual cell that we make our 180 amp hour solar panels out of. They're actually a product of U.S. Sun Power, and they're called a Maxion cell. They're about 22% efficient. They have a couple of other interesting aspects. On the rear, they have 3 tabs on each side. Most solar cells have a grid on the front that you have to connect to, and then a grid on the back that you connect to as well. These are all back connections, and it lets you do some interesting things. You just solder wires, connections to these little tabs on the rear, and on either side. Any of them or all of them, it doesn't matter. One tab will do one side. They're very dark. They're 125 millimeters square. They're quite fragile as they come. You have to put these on something. And of course, we sell them on laminated on an acetate with epoxy over the top of them. I got 1,000 of these, and I had to do some talking to do it. They're kind of backdoored out of China. Of course, our American manufacturer, U.S. Sun Power, note the U.S., actually has these made in China. They're the most efficient cell that I know of that you can get at about 22%. Our 180 amp hour panel is 60 cells, and each cell at its maximum power level is about 0.55 volts, a little over a half a volt, and a little over 5 amps, about 5.45 amps, in maximum sunlight at maximum power. Open circuit, they'll be 0.66 volts, but when you load them for power, these will put out about 3 watts, and at 5.5 amps and about a half a volt. And so that is the SunPower Maxion cell. I managed to get them. They're kind of fragile. We'll have to ship them in a sandwich. We're going to put them in the web store for $10 a piece for all you budding Thomas Edison inventors out there. This is kind of the reason I'm doing this is we've had several people with ideas like they have a big padded dash panel that's in the sun from the windshield, and they want to be able to trickle charge their battery. Well, at a half a volt, you're going to take 24 of these, but that would be 75 watts and about 5.5 amps. So that's a pretty stout trickle charger. These are fairly powerful cells, but fairly low voltage. And so you would have to have several of them. But this is to do custom things on your tonneau or your roof or your dash or something if you want to do your own little solar thing. And again, they're kind of unique in that they're all back connections. There's none on the front, so you can put them together right next to each other without there's no grid on the front of it, no grid lines to block any of the sun. They're very dark. This one's taking on some of my fingerprints. You want to be careful about that, but they're a pitch blue-black, and again, about 22% efficient at making electricity. So we'll have those in the store for you if you want to play with them and try to make your own solar whatever. This is the cell, by the way, that they used on the this solar catamaran that sailed around the world, had 5,000 square feet of solar. It's the one that the Australian car originally broke the record with an automobile that was solar powered, and this is the cell. And the cells on our roof are about 15.5% efficient. These are about 22%, and a little under 3 watts per cell. They're quite fragile, so you have to laminate them onto something, and of course do some sort of wiring. Of course, it doesn't take 5.5 amps, doesn't take very heavy wire, but this is so you can experiment and perhaps produce something custom for your car. So the answer is not much.
Not much. Well, except like when the little kids come by and flip the. They're over that now. It seems like. I guess nothing happened, and they stopped hitting the disconnect.
I don't know if they thought that would launch something or what, but no. When you're a little kid, there's a handle. It's almost impossible not to pull it.
Can't help yourself.
And so this is another annoying little thing that from the utility companies to make life impossible for us and convenient for them.
Yes.
And so that's
there's a place
what's
for a lock.
going on. But I am kind of pleased we got in 1,000 of these sun solar cells.
Yes.
And they're 125 millimeters by 125 millimeters. They're what we use on those flexible panels.
Yes. Yes.
And they're very thin. They're very light. They're very black.
They're blue-black. Yeah.
They're kind of like the black on an insect that almost turns blue.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, but that's the most efficient solar cell you can get.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's important with vehicles and RVs and golf carts and boats and so forth, because you only have a certain amount of space. On a roof, we can do 15%.
Yeah.
They have some that are 17. I wouldn't pay for them.
No, that's no big deal.
15's good enough. I've got 2/3 of my roof we didn't even use.
That's right. If we need more.
But on a car or something, it's different.
Yeah.
But our guys, I've noticed, they like to invent things and play with things.
Yeah, they bring it here to the show.
So forth.
Yeah.
And so I had bugged this guy that does this in China. This is U.S. Sun Power is a U.S. company with this highly efficient cell, and that's their advantage.
Hence the U.S.
I'm not saying they are, I'm not saying they aren't, but they seem that the cells are made in China, actually.
Anyway, okay. Imagine
Now,
that.
Where the panels are assembled, I don't know. Could
Right.
be the U.S.,
Yeah.
maybe not.
Maybe not.
But I get from a very small company in China, they're hard to find without test instruments. It's really a guy.
Yeah.
And he makes these flexible panels.
Yes.
And we buy them. And we carry them in 120, 140, and 180 watt. And they have a couple of advantages. They're real light. They're 6 pounds.
Yeah,
for
yeah,
the
man, they're
big
light.
one.
Yep.
They're 3 millimeters thick, and they bend. And so you can put them on the top of a lot of stuff. Instead of a 45-pound framed thing that's stiff, this is, you can kind of glue these to the wall.
Yeah, you kind of mold them a little bit. Yeah.
And so that's what we're doing. I had asked him about getting the cells, because clearly he's building these from individual
Right.
cells. And of course he didn't want me to have them because I'd go into competition with him.
Oh, sure. We can just start building solar panels.
Right.
And when we're doing what? Nothing else?
Well, we'd have to give up our evening crochet.
There you go. I'm not giving mine
And,
up. I don't
and
know
so I
about
finally
you.
convinced him, I said, "Bart, we don't want to manufacture anything.
That's right.
We're manufacturing stuff now. I'm trying to get other people to do for us.
Exactly.
We would like give them money to make it go away.
If we just
make the
knew they
pain
could do
stop. But our viewers, many of you, are very inventive and like the component level things to do stuff.
Yes.
And so I really think we've pulled off a coup. And I talked this guy into selling me some of these cells.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not even too sure if this isn't, some sort of a backdoor
Backdoor.
operation. Don't mention the Sun Solar that we're doing this.
Yeah,
There's no
please,
reason to cause it.
Keep it in the family.
It's just between us guys. But I've got you some 22% efficient cells that have the back tabs, and you can put them together and do something useful without a whole lot of cells.
They could build a solar catamaran.
A solar catamaran. You could build a solar catamaran and sail around the world. That's demonstrably true. It could be done.
Why not?
Or you could trickle charge your bamboo box.
There you go.
2.5 amp hour, 12-volt battery
Okay.
that
All right.
bootstraps your car. That would work.
That
too.
would work too. All right.
And so there you go.
Cool.
Our gentleman in Michigan and Ohio, the Lear team.
Yeah, the LearCon too.
Yeah, I had Lear too this
Oh,
week
man.
and sent a little video. Let's see what they're up to.
Okay.
Hey EvTV, Byron Eisenbard here. I'm with Mark Weisheimer and Brian Cochain. We have the Lear chargers here from the Codas, and we're 2 Lear chargers from the Codas, and we're actually running them right now at 22 amps off of the CANDue from EvTV. Jack sent us each a CANDue, and we're developing the software interfaces to work with the chargers.
We've got a section already done by Jack that will do standalone control of both Lears. You set it up in the laptop, you set your voltage you want to charge to, the current you want to charge at, and the end terminating current that you want to stop at, and it takes care of the rest. It'll run standalone without the laptop, but you've got the laptop as an interface to watch as you're charging. The meter may or may not be clear on the screen, but it's kicking butt. We're drawing 23 amps from 240 volts AC. We're charging at 15.5 amps DC into a 388 volt battery pack. So we're doing well over 6 kilowatts output.
The CANDue we have over here, does that work similar to what the TCCH setup works?
It does. It can be loaded with the TCCH software as well. It will also charge with the TCCH chargers that have the CAN interface, or without the CAN interface, as long as they have the CAN software installed in the charger, can control the TCCH chargers in the same exact fashion.
Okay.
And in the last 24 hours, Colin Kitter's released a new piece of software for capturing data on CAN in a vehicle.
Yep.
Using the CANDue. It'll do standalone capture to a micro SD card. It will also then interface with some software that he's written for the PC. It's all available online.
Available online from Colin 80 at GitHub.com. And if you do a Google search on that, you should be able to find it pretty easily.
Yeah, great job.
Yep.
And thank you.
We appreciate it.
Yeah. And thanks, Jack. This software works great. The CANDue works great. And thanks, Paulo, and all the folks that worked behind the scenes to make that happen.
Yep, and thank you to Brian for letting us come out to his shop today and have a good time here. And we're
LearCon 2.
LearCon 2 2014, and we're working on. We have the Coda version of this charger pretty much figured out. We're going to be probably working on a Volt charger next, and Leaf and Tesla, watch out, you're next.
We've currently got 2 chargers running in parallel for about 6.6 kW total. And you could run just one charger as well.
Absolutely.
So if you only need 3.3 kW, you can run just one as well. I think the Chevy Volt's got one charger.
Right, the 3.3K.
The Chevy Volt's running one charger at 3.3 kilowatts. The Nissan Leaf, up until I believe last year, had 3.3 kilowatts of a different type of charger, one we believe Nissan developed themselves. And they now have a 6.6 kilowatt charger. It's unclear if it's 1 or 2 units, but and then Tesla obviously has a 10 kilowatt charger times 2 that you can get up to 20 kilowatts.
And you can parallel these. The CANDue can control 2 with one port, can control a second 2 with another, so you could have 12 kW charging with the CANDue, with a single CANDue board. So.
And it's pretty impressive what we can do with this CAN bus stuff. I mean, all the EV components now are all CAN controlled, as Jack has said in the past. But with this setup, we should be able to, hook up to a CHAdeMO or anything like that and get power, from a CHAdeMO station at up to, what are they, 120 kilowatt or something like that? No, that's too high. 120 amps. So, yep, it's all crackable with this hardware and some software.
Making electric boats isn't just making boats cleaner, it's making boats better. Being out in an electric boat means you can enjoy the environment you're in. You are so much more immersed in the sound and the experience of the aquatic life, of the water, of the wind, than you would otherwise be. And it really gives you a new level of understanding and enjoyment of that generally beautiful nature area you've gone into to enjoy yourself. What an electric motor does is that it gives you all this power in a vibrationless, soundless way. A well-thought-out, well-designed system has 100% of the torque available all the time. You don't have to build up to it, you have it. So when you pump the throttle, you are out there and your whole shot is amazing. It takes your center of gravity right out from under you, and it gives people that what they call the EV grin. You just start laughing, you can't help it. You're so conditioned to think that you first need vibration, then need noise, and then you start going somewhere. And in this case, your center of gravity just shoots right out from under you. And it's a wonderful feeling. You can still talk to each other. You're hearing the sound of the water and the wind and the waves instead of just hearing engine noise and vibrations. And it gives you really a chance to be in tune with that nature that you're actually out there to enjoy. Plus, not having to visit the pump is actually a great thing. Your battery will eat electricity from any source that you provide. I mean, who loves sitting around on your knees with a jerry can? We have better control over the boat. We have a better experience while we're out driving. Plus, we also have the knowledge that we're part of new technology. It is just way cool. Our mission is to make beautiful, fast, and fun electric boats. There's nothing more fun than taking these new technological developments and putting them into classic designs and having people shoot away with a big smile and an EV grin.
Great job, guys. There's
Yeah.
still a lot of confusion and stuff as to which bytes does what and which
Right.
wires does what. I think they have too good a time getting together. They ought to do more work separately.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. They could get 3 times as much work done if they didn't get
If they
together
didn't
once a
keep
month.
getting together, drinking beer and eating pizza and stuff. But it's interesting to see them
Yeah.
actually. Yeah, the awkward part is you can't type yourself smart on this.
No.
You have to rig up the thing. Just this week, I had to go to some extremes to rig up to be able to measure AC current.
Okay.
It couldn't be in the cable. I had to pull the individual, phase wires out so I could get a clamp meter on them so
Oh,
I
yeah.
could measure AC current. Let's take a look at my stumbling with the same device.
Okay.
Using some of their results, and I'm trying to tune up a software program that will actually run it, and a little box that will run this charger.
Cool.
Okay, I'm here with the Lear charger. We're becoming progressively more engaged with this. As you saw it, Lear CANDue. They have continued the work. I have a box set up here sitting on top of it that is basically consists of a CANDue board, which is mounted on an Arduino board. And rather than using the, those just go together like this, rather than using the DB9, we're using the screw terminals, and I have some wiring to it. This is our Lear Corporation charger used in the Chevy Volt, the SmartforTwoED, and the Coda. And we're having some success finding these at a fairly attractive price. What we're struggling with, of course, is the connectors, which are very nice connectors. But in addition to being quite pricey, it doesn't matter, we can't get them anyway. So we're struggling a little bit with there, but we've got some plans. And I've hooked up our cooling cart to run cooling fluid through the charger. It has a connector over here on this side of the charger, and I've made a harness that goes from our box with our CANDue and that into it. It basically carries 12 volts, which I have to apply through this switch, to the charger for the enable pin and the master select pin. And then we have 2 lines from our CAN high and low going into the charger CAN high and low. We have the command string to operate the charger, and we have some results that give us our DC current level, the measured voltage, the measured temperature, interestingly, of the charger, which again is liquid cooled, and that makes it quite small. It's made of a sturdy cast aluminum chassis that I like, and it's quite small. There's not really as much problem as you would think with the liquid cooled chargers. We've always avoided them. But we've really always had liquid cooling. Even the Soliton, we had liquid cooling on that, and all our AC systems require liquid cooling. You simply add the charger in one of your cooling loops. When you're driving, it doesn't get hot. In fact, it acts as a little bit of a heat sink for your cooling loop. And when you're charging, you're not really running your motor or your inverter. And so they act as a little bit of a heat sink for your charger. So it's fairly simple to simply hose this in to your existing cooling loop, and it works fine. I've been working on the software that I wrote for the charger, and it works quite similarly to the software we developed for the TCCH charger. It's still a work in progress, but frankly, right now I can charge batteries with it. Having some anomalies with an indication of AC current, but I have full control of it. I just can't see it. I've got the wrong byte. Let me show you on the laptop just what we're doing. I'm going to sit down over here and bring up our program. With a serial monitor that comes with Arduino. Any serial monitor on any computer will do. And I'm going to turn on the 12 volts to the charger, and we immediately begin charging, and we're up to 7.6 amps and at 396 volts on one of our Reno influenza packages. And so let me talk a little bit about what's here on the screen. Okay, we are in Arduino. I'm going to open up our serial monitor and bring up our program. Lear Charger version 1.05. Our CAN initialization is completed. Got quite a bit of information here. I'm going to stop the auto scroll. And we can see it's not filling out because we're not getting any information. I'm going to reach over and turn on 12 volts to our Lear charger. And that'll start it up. And here we go. Let me stop the scrolling. And we can talk about this a little bit. I have it set here for 403 volts. When it reaches 403 volts, the charger will automatically decrease current to maintain that value, and it'll decrease it as far as it needs to. Actual, right now it is reading the pack voltage at 396.1 volts DC. I have set the amperes, which tends to set the AC amps for 20 amps. My AC amp indicates 24.5, and this seems to be a software error. I'm reading 13.9 amps for the clamp meter. Our DC amps is set at 7.6 amps, and I read that with a clamp meter at 7.6 amps. I have the end value set to 3.0 amps, and that is the current level at which the software will actually terminate the charger. We're showing I have put in 7.27 amp hours and 2.865 kilowatt hours. We have an aux terminal on the Lear charger for 12 volts. I have a 12 volt battery hooked up to that. It is not producing any voltage, but it will accurately read my battery, which is showing right now 13.12 volts, and it reads it at 13, and that's pretty close. Our temperature is the temperature of our IGBTs in the charger, and the 34 degrees centigrade is very believable, and we've been running for 36 seconds and 926 milliseconds, and so that's what we're seeing. I can change the voltage by going up here in my command line and saying V for 402. And as you can see here, that changes that to 402. I can change my amps to, let's go A10 and see what happens. And my AC amps drop to 17.4. And my DC amps drop to 5.4. So I don't know what that means. 10 should be higher than both of them. Let's go back to 15. So we probably still have some few software problems here. Now we're back to our 7.6 maximum here. When I put 15 in, and I'm back to 24.5 amps AC. So this AC amperes is kind of problematical. I believe this set amps at 15 does so up to a limit. Let's try something here and go to 13. A13, I'm reading 13.9 on the meter. And would you believe it went down to 12.9 amps when I entered 13? And that's very believable. This is not very believable. This is pretty believable. We're only going to get out as much power as we put in. And we're at 13 amps and 241 volts, or 3,081 watts in. And so our output at 7 amps times 396 is going to wind up being about 89% of that with this charger. If I enter A10, again, I go to 17.4 indicated and 5.4 output on the DC. But I entered 10, and I am reading, well, my meter went off, but let's turn it back on. 10 amps exactly. And so we are commanding the AC amps coming in. And that's fine. We're used to controlling the DC amperes out. This actually may be a better control. The charger will charge what it can given our input, and we can tune our input to what's available over the AC connection. And so it really doesn't matter that we're controlling our AC amps instead of our DC. We are controlling the DC amps, it's just somewhat indirectly. So if I go back to 820, which is above what my charger will do, I'm back to 13.9 amps coming in, indicating 24.5. That's was a byte given to me as being 8 AC amps. I'm going to claim that it's not. And our DC amperes is back up to our maximum of 7.6. So this is what you see on the screen. We can change 3 values here very easily. V for our set voltage, A for our AC amps again, and E for our terminating current. There are some other values. P lets us select our CAN port, P0 or P1. R lets us set the rate, the data rate, to 500 kbps or whatever. D puts us in debug, and I'll show you what that looks like. We get a regular printout here, but these are the packets we received from the charger. I have a message 274, 617, 618. I was told this F5 was AC amps. It's not. And those are the bytes we're receiving. We're sending a 50. Here's our charge command, where we command voltage and current, and the one over here turns it on. And so that's what's going on there. If I go back to auto scroll, I can hit D for debug again and go back to my regular display. So we've got good control of the Lear charger, right down being able to read the temperature, and so that's working pretty well. We have a problem with our AC amp and determining what our AC amps are. We can change our AC amps directly with our set amp, and that's quite accurate. And we can read our DC amps, and that's quite accurate. What I haven't found is the proper byte in the proper message to indicate AC amps without my meter, and I'm sure there is one in there. I just have to keep looking. Okay, so that's what we're doing software-wise. It's going to be pathologically simple to operate, and we have 12 volts going into our box to operate it. Once we have our parameters set, we unplug from the USB port with our laptop, and we take that in and play Angry Birds with it, or listen to CFR Morning Edition, because we don't need it anymore. As long as we apply 12 volts, have 12 volts to the little box, it will run the charger. So to run the charger, you need to have AC voltage to it, and you need 12 volts, which would be very easy to switch using your AVC2 modular power J1772 device or anything else. In fact, you could probably just leave it running on unswitched 12 volts and apply your AC voltage when you wanted to charge. But I would recommend having some method to apply 12 volts to the box. That gives you a fresh start on your Arduino at the same time that you're applying power to the Lear charger. I think it's near time to declare victory on the Lear charger. We basically have the software where we can control it now. I think there's some additional work we could do, maybe get a little bit more information out of it, although I'm pretty much down to if there is an indication of actual AC amps, I would like to have it, but you don't need it. We already will read your 12-volt system and your temperature, which are also pretty nice to know informations. And keep in mind, this is only when you plug in that you see any of this at all, where you can check the charger operation. After you're happy with it, you unplug and walk away anyway. And it should operate quite reliably from there. Again, you also want a way, when you charge, to turn on your cooling pump. And so you're going to have a 12-volt strategy for charging. But they work pretty much now. I have 8 or 9 of them here. We're going to have them in the online store with the with connectors and with the control box. I'm not sure where we're going to price it, but probably somewhere around $1,200 or $1,300. The box and and really the connectors and cables are costing me a little bit more than I expected, but that's still a great value. This is essentially the equivalent of kind of an industrial-looking Brusa charger that we sell for $19.95 that I believe we're going to be able to put on the street for about $1,200. Right now, the problem is I don't have very many of them. There'll be 7 or 8 available, but I think we'll be able to find more as they become available, and I'm working on trying to get some contact with Lear or somebody where we can obtain these regularly, and we'll go from there. But I'm very taken with the charger. We will do some further work. Brian Cochin and the guys in Ohio and Michigan already have it working with 2 chargers, and conceivably, since we have 2 CAN buses in the box, we could conceivably extend that to 4. I'm not sure that's entirely necessary, but 6.6 kilowatts is a very nice amount of charge on a 400 volt pack. That would give us about 14, little over 14 amps into the pack, and that's with these packs at 60 to 80 amp hours, that's pretty quick. That's a 4-hour charge on a 60, a little over 5 on an 80 amp hour pack. So our 72 amp hour pack at 335 volts on the green thing would be a little over 4 hours, about 5 hours. And so we're kind of taken with this. We think it'll bring down the cost and up the quality of the build. So we've upped our game. Now it's time to up yours.
It looks like it's coming together.
We're going to wind up with a little box you plug in.
Yeah.
You can plug in your laptop, set up your parameters, unplug the laptop, walk away, and it'll charge your car for the rest of your life.
See, that's cool. That's cool.
There's a couple things I really like about this charger, a couple things I don't. One is it's very accurate, as it turns out, on the voltage.
Okay.
When I put in 400 volts, it takes it up to a little under that, 399.3.
Oh.
And it doesn't wander around. It doesn't hunt. It just holds it there and adjusts the current to make that happen.
Man,
It's
that's pretty
excellent.
good. That's very accurate.
Number 2, Brian Cucine reports that oscope analysis of the AC waveform. A lot of the problems you have with some of these things is the emissions they put on the power line and dirty power lines, and so you have a power factor correction thing and so forth. He said this is dead nuts on, in phase, totally clean.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
this
man.
thing does not have a footprint. You can't really tell it's
You
plugged
can't tell
in.
it's plugged in. Oh, man.
It is liquid cooled, and it makes a great little water heater. It's I measured about 89% efficiency. It runs a couple 300 watts off as heat.
Okay.
And if you don't have it water circulating, it climbs right up there above 60 degrees centigrade right now.
Okay.
And it'll heat water pretty good.
Okay. Okay.
So
need to cool it.
It does need to be cooled. But that, of course, lets it be smaller
Yes.
in the car.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I like that it's in the Volt, it's in the Smart, it's in the, the Coda doesn't matter anymore.
Doesn't, right.
But they're available.
Yes.
The connectors are a couple of $100.
Yeah. And they're a different story.
But it doesn't matter, you can't get them.
That's right. They're whatever. Yeah.
That I don't like.
Yeah.
But we'll work on it. And I should have 6 or 8 of those in the store with a little box you hook up to them, and you go, girl.
Okay. Cool.
Haven't done much with the dueling of them yet. I suppose we'll fool with that, so you can use the same little box to run both of them, but
Oh, okay.
it's kind of a different wiring harness is all it is.
Okay.
And so there's that. So good work. We'll continue on that. I'm looking at the Leaf charger right now. They're widely available. A little bigger and uglier, but it would just be a matter of figuring that one out as well. And we don't have all the bytes worked out on the Lear, but we've got enough where you can charge with it.
You can charge with it, sure. Yeah.
We're down to now what you're seeing with the laptop hooked up for vicarious interests. You can set a voltage, you can set the AC current,
Okay.
a limit on it, and that can be as high as you want. Normally, you just set something above what it'll ever be. And you set the termination current, the point at which it quits, and you unplug the laptop. And after that, you do have to make sure you have 12 volts to get to it when you want to charge.
But other than that, anything else, any other information, I guess, would just be kind of voyeuristic, huh?
Yeah, you're just kind of hanging
At the
out.
peep show.
looking at shit. I mean, that's how electric cars are. You'll watch stuff for 2 or 3 days, and then it's like, okay, I've seen it.
Yeah, that's right.
I believe it.
Done.
And you never look again. This
No.
is why I've not been a lot of effort on displays and stuff. Yeah, it's cool information until you don't care anymore. I drive the cars by voltage.
Right.
Dirty little secret.
Yeah.
I can, at a glance, I know exactly where I'm at.
Yeah, you know how far you can go, and just if the voltage looks good, you're good.
And that is LearCon. Let's go see what Anna's up to.
Okay, all right.
The yellow Jeep.
All right, we'll take a jump across
And
the
a
pond.
rad boat.
In a rad boat.
Well, hey, EvTV, it's Friday, and this is your EvTV Amsterdam update. I'm sitting here in the 1969 CJ5 Jeep that is going for road legal testing next Monday. You heard it, folks. It's Friday. We're going there Monday. And as you can see, we ain't driving yet. Not to worry. That's our job. We're going to be working against the deadline, and that means pulling all weekend and all-nighters if we have to. We do finally have all the components and stuff that we need. It's the main components we had, of course, being the EvTV Amsterdam warehouse. But it's all that good stuff, that last-minute stuff that you find out that you need when you're making cooling tubes and having them go around corners, having shielded cables, but finding out you also need to have sheaths for the shielded cables and have them orange, not red, mind you, so you can't buy them from the gas company that has these red shielding tubing, but you have to finally source this orange stuff that we managed to find and can now be using for all our throughputs. So I'll take you around some of the stuff we're doing in the Jeep, show you some pictures while I'm talking about it. Charger has been mounted, cooling system has been connected. 12-volt system was an absolute nightmare. Our customer bought a car that had been started but hadn't nearly been finished. But then again, you know, we always relish a challenge here in Amsterdam. So that is our Jeep, and we have Celso Francisco and Ray working hard on that count. Me running around Amsterdam getting all the last parts that we needed. But I think she'll be a real screamer, people. We got 100 amp hour Calb cells in here, so she'll have a full 33 kilowatt hour pack. And with these big dune buggy tires, she should be doing fine in a sandbox and, you know, actually getting somewhere on the highway at about, 80 or 90 kilometers an hour. So next week, I hope to be all smiles and congratulatory self-pat on the backs for a fully road-legal CJ5 Jeep. If not, I'll be all cries and slide softly onto my sword and let you know that it didn't work out. But that's next week. What else did we do this week? Well, last week we told you a little bit about the Delta and the problems we were having with the da-da-da-da-da. It actually made the front page of the EvTV Friday show, me and Celso looking slightly nonplussed at the feeling of 100 kilowatts going through the seat of your pants. Well, I'm not moving the throttle. So what was that about? Well, so we did hook up the PC to both of the controllers, the Curtis controllers this time, and we found a whole shopping list of errors. Not all of them throttle related. Some were low key switch voltage, some were over temp warnings. In fact, these Curtis controllers, they do a great job of logging errors, and then after a power cycle, you get to go on. But they don't log any kind of date or time or duration for these errors, and I just simply never gone into the error file. So that means from the start of the installation of the Delta, well over a year ago, these babies had been logging errors and dutifully writing them away to their little log file, and I'd never really checked them. So checking them now after you first encounter a problem is going to give you a shopping list, but it's not going to pinpoint that one item that you're throwing, if you're throwing any, related to the problem that we had. So that means once they were cleared, we now took out the logging capability, the serial wire out to the front so that we could hook up a laptop while we were in the boat, and not just to the master controller, but to the slave as well. So this last weekend saw me and Cels back out in the Delta trying to recreate that error, and let's see if that worked out.
Ready to start. Okay. Logging, you can go whenever you want.
Good. You roll this against, yeah?
Okay, it's saved.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Now
Let's do the other one.
connect the other one. That was the slave connected. Now we connect to the master. Oh, is it a little further? Bad motherfucker.
It's the weak plug.
Okay, so this one goes there, and the little guy.
Yeah, it's that.
What is it? Oh, I'm on it already. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
it. Okay,
You're
yeah.
trying to connect the master to the slave.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I want the master to go to the slave. Bring out the
Connect.
gimp.
come on. Connect. Okay, I'm connected. Let me check for errors. Throttle wiper high.
Okay.
Throttle high. Okay. So monitor and all not 250 milliseconds. Okay, start. iPhone master. Okay,
Yeah.
you can go.
Okay.
Stop to make sure you got saved. Now just check errors. No errors, just the same throttle wiper high.
Yeah.
But this can be when you initiate the controllers. It says the throttle is high.
Yeah. So you want to save the error, clear them.
I can.
Oh, you can see if it comes back again, I guess. Yeah.
No, if it appears another error,
Yeah.
just
You'll see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I just thought if we clear throttle wiper high, then we know it's not an on-off event.
okay. Yeah. I just deleted the whole history, so you can check.
And are we running log again?
No, you
Stop
can
start.
monitor. Okay, start again. Master. Second. Okay, save.
Okay.
Running another file.
Bringing it back. Side takes works there. Don't like it with all the extra. Okay. 1, 2, 3. already have if we need to know it, can it do this thing without throwing a fault, then we already have faults. No fault? Or? No fault. No fault, huh? Okay, so now we know, even without throwing a fault, it can show this. Yeah, it just stopped. That's fine. I'm turning it off. Well, there we see, having a battery connected doesn't really make a difference, and we saw that we can get this problem without it throwing a fault, because we deleted the faults, and it still definitely showed the behavior. So we'll take a look at the logs and start looking at some new software. So as you can see, no problem recreating that error. When we were out there, it did throw one fault, which was throttle wiper high, but that seemed to be more just at the turning on and off of the controller. We were able to, in fact, reproduce the error without throwing any errors on either the master or the slave controller. At the same time, we were running logs, and this time we were running logs at 250 milliseconds instead of 1,000 milliseconds being once every second. So doing it once every 250 milliseconds gave us a much finer resolution and gives us more vision, more confirmation of what's happening on this throttle, which I've managed to print in this graph that's also made for me, as I am crap with graphs in Excel environments. Well, here we can clearly see that, I was really trying to go slow on the throttle pot so that any variation wouldn't be me with the joystick, but it would in fact be something that was coming autonomously out of that throttle or in the connections up in the back of the boat. Well, I'll put up this graph for you, but then in a larger, more colorful version. And you can indeed see that I put up the throttle to a map throttle of about 50%, and that's at about 3.5 volt. Then I come back a little bit to get into steady planing. And without me touching anything for several seconds, both the throttle input shows a couple of dips, the map throttle and throttle command goes all over the place, and then we've got actually a spike up. Now these are the most dangerous, folks. We got a spike up on the throttle input that I never did within a second, and it actually spikes up the map throttle up to 100%. So that means you're minding your own business in your experimental speedboat, and suddenly you've got 100% of throttle. 100% of throttle means 100 kilowatts of power that you were not requesting. So let's hope we weren't aiming for the shore at that time. In fact, we weren't. There were a lot of jet skis around. I wouldn't have minded hitting one of those. Those annoying little buzz flies. But no, we got back to the side and back to the trailer and onto the trailer with our new winch hook without any mishap. But we more or less definitively proven that we have a defective throttle unit. So that pretty much proves that we had a defective throttle, and we'll be taking it out, replacing it, putting in a new one, opening up the unit we had and checking for corrosion or bad connections. Basically, I'm going to now map it while it's on the bench and not mount it in my boat, ready to kill me. So we'll see. You can't save any money on this stuff, guys. Wiring, throttles, they're important, and they'll kill you if they don't work. So lesson learned on that one. I'm in the market for a wig-wag throttle that isn't meant for forklifts or anything dry, but I'm looking for one that's fully IP6X and a little more beefy. Thank you very much. The last little update that we have for this week, I mentioned last week that we had contact with Mr. Green and they had some projects in store for us. Well, this week we picked up a not single but dual CHAdeMO charging station. That means that I now have a mess in the back of my tiny little shop we really need to move, but it was all worth it because I now have a couple of different plates on pieces of equipment, and those plates say things like 50 kilowatt and 100 kilowatt, and a nerd like me just gets really happy to see that kind of spec on anything, including that gigantic AC wire. That we'll hook it up to see if we can get it all working, but then what we're in fact looking to do, as Jack said on last week's and this week's blog, is to bypass the whole AC stage and then go straight to a DC bus, which will then feed our CHAdeMO unit. That's going to be very exciting. We at least have the hardware in-house. Next week, Tuesday, we'll have the end point with the CHAdeMO protocol and plugs, and we'll be able to start playing with that. But first, we got to finish the Jeep. What was that last little thing I was going to show you? Oh yeah, I've got a Tazari Zero sitting outside in the rain. This cute little car is a lot nicer looking to my mind than the Smarts. There's 15 or 20 of them sitting in a warehouse with their battery murdering system, having incapacitated almost all of them. This one still drives around, but it'll leave you stranded after about 60 kilometers, and that's, well, half short of what it's supposed to do. If we do get this Jeep finished, then by next week, we should make a project of dismantling the 2460 amp hour ThunderSky batteries that are in there, doing them a bit of a check on state of charge, on capacity, on voltages, etc., and seeing if we can't offer the client a way of getting these cars back out on the road without a murdering system and just watching what we're doing. Well, that's it for this week. We have a lot of building to do this weekend, so pray for us or wish us luck or whatever you guys do when you wish well to people that are out there trying to build their asses off, and we'll catch you next week. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye-bye.
Well, that yellow Jeep's still making a nice backdrop.
Well, and that red boat's still making a lot of noise.
They're still making a lot of noise.
Apparently, they've got a throttle problem, kind of a mystery.
Yeah.
But there he is. Also, we're out there enjoying the fall weather on the bay.
Exactly.
With their jackets and, this boat. You can have all that you want there, boys.
That's right.
I did note his requirement for orange loom.
Yes.
I don't know why I haven't gotten into this before, but I have ordered orange loom in every size you could want be in the store, and orange electrical tape, and that's what we've been fighting with the Lear and the Coda stuff.
That's what's wrapped up in, yeah.
If the only thing between you and a really professional-looking electric cart build is orange loom and orange electrical tape, good news.
That's right.
You're fixed.
That's right, we're there.
I suppose I failed last week to adequately thank Jeff Southern for the heroic efforts on the PTC heater. Jeffrey, we love it. It's in the car. I haven't tested it yet, but it's looking very good. Yeah. It's a very cunning design, and thank you for making that for us.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. Really cool. The install went quick, too. It was perfect.
Jesse had it in an afternoon.
Yeah, it was just, it cut the holes, template was great. I mean, it really was cool.
We need to send that hole saw back to him. He said that was $100 hole saw.
I did, yesterday.
Okay.
It's on its way, Jeff.
All right. And again, thank you. We're very interested to see how you do with the Aristocraft. Is there anything happening there?
Any video?
So
electric boat-wise?
And beyond that, we're pretty much there.
I think it's a wrap.